Hey guys, it's Lovelxce and it's time for another video. Today I'm using astrology and tarot to look into Diddy's situation yet again. We successfully looked at if he would be incarcerated originally. This time it's whether he will be granted bail. Keep in mind this is an objective reading and I'm just explaining the information presented before me for educational purposes. Currently, the U.S. District Judge Arun S., I just simply cannot pronounce his last name, is considering Sean Diddy Combs' third request for bail. Diddy's lawyers have been pleading to release him from jail, arguing that he's not the danger to the community that prosecutors allege he is. Diddy's powerful legal team, as I've described in the past, unsurprisingly, put up a compelling proposition after turned down attempting to house Diddy in one of his illustrious mansions. An unrealistic request, they offered placing him in a 3-bedroom Upper East Side apartment, where they said he'd be monitored by 24/7 security, including 2 guards inside the apartment and 1 downstairs. A private security team, paid by Combs himself, no conflict of interest there, would monitor his internet access and all of his communication. The judge suggested his legal team submit a proposal by Monday on what type of communication Combs would be able to engage in should he be granted home confinement, Inner City Press reported. MSN reports prosecutors said Diddy cannot be trusted to follow the rules of pretrial release, while the defense said its proposals are far more restricted than jail conditions, including limiting phone calls to lawyers, restricting visitors, keeping a visitor log, and avoiding contact with witnesses. So now that we've got the background and we're up to date, let's get into the chart. It was made on November 22nd, 2024, when I saw a video advertised about whether Diddy would make bail. This type of chart is a divination horary chart, and is not a natal birth chart. The star Bellatrix is notably conjunct the ascendant. It symbolizes ambition, resilience, struggle, dishonor after a fall from success. In Diddy's situation, it states a struggle for liberation, though the outcome, escape or deeper entanglement, depends on the circumstances. Bellatrix warns of the potential consequences of overreaching or reckless ambition. For Diddy, the risks are high. His legal team could face sanctions if deemed to be wasting the court's time with their requests, including fines or restrictions on further appeals, or the inability to appeal again. So there's important planets here, aka significators, and I'll point them out. These planets will describe how things move forward. Jupiter here represents the judge, and I also associate Jupiter with freedom in charts like these. Venus is imprisonment and how legal matters play out. Mercury is also his home and family, so we can see if this planet describes going home. The Sun represents how imprisonment matters play out in the end, and Saturn is Diddy's lawyer/legal matters. So from least to greatest, Venus leaving a sextile with Saturn could say a lessening of restrictions. Venus in Capricorn at the 8th house says Diddy will still have restriction moving forward for the long term, and experience losses related to this, but lawyers have influence over the terms. Saturn's message about Diddy's lawyers and legal matters. Saturn in Pisces with Neptune retrograde in Pisces. Restriction, a slow process, unrealistic goals, potential manipulation and false appearances. In the 10th house, may be a legal success and proposal of restrictions for Diddy. The Sun's message of how imprisonment matters play out in the end. Sun trine Mars in Sagittarius squares Saturn. Mars represents Diddy's wishes. Wishes potentially granted. Should freedom be granted, freedom with restrictions his lawyers have influence over. Mercury's message as Diddy's significator and representing home and family. His planet isn't connected to the 12th house, which is imprisonment. There is instead a stronger connection to the home and suggestion of being around and supported by others. This is because home and family, and Diddy sharing the same planet in my experience, show they could be one for a while again, and because his planet is in the 7th house, which represents people in his life and relocation. Mercury in Sagittarius is a sign of freedom from some restrictions and describes how Diddy is at the mercy of the judge's decision. Sagittarius could be travel. Mercury is about to go retrograde in this chart. This is another sign in my experience of a return since we're inquiring about it. Jupiter's message as the judge and freedom in general. Jupiter as the judge, of course, has the greatest indication, being the decision maker, and why I'm saving this for last. Here is my theory. Jupiter and Gemini in the first house may be fortunate for Diddy, showing the judge agreeable to his demands with a couple of caveats. Jupiter retrograde could show a successful return back, freedom granted after delays, but I'm inclined to believe with other things in the chart that even if he did get bailed, there'd probably be another reversal of fortune later. Jupiter squares Saturn. Any freedom granted will have restrictions. This square isn't particularly stressful and could also mean current restrictions are lessened. Mercury is separating from an opposition with Jupiter. Could this be, I wonder? Has he already started the process to secure his way out? Diddy is currently incarcerated at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, New York. His lawyers are trying to set him up in an apartment in the Upper East Side, New York. The Upper East Side is northwest of Brooklyn. Saturn, as ruler of the 9th house, represents travel, along with representing his lawyers. So Saturn is in Pisces, and Pisces relates to the northwest. It would also relate to locations near water, which the Upper East Side is. I wonder if the chart is saying he will be permitted to be housed in that Upper East Side apartment. Shadow placements are hidden placements of planets in the chart, and I found them very significant in previous readings. Let's look at Venus, whose imprisonment for Diddy. The shadow placement for Venus is 16 degrees Sagittarius, while Mercury is 21 degrees Sagittarius. This is a statement of waning energy between the two. He might just be taking a break from prison. But then we look at Mercury's shadow placement at 8 degrees Capricorn, with Venus's actual placement at 13 degrees Capricorn. This still shows him moving towards imprisonment and losses once again. I see this as even if he bails out, it's to another form of imprisonment, or he goes back to regular imprisonment later. We're almost getting to the end of insights. Let's see what Tarot has to say about Diddy's fate. When asking about him going to prison months ago, I pulled the Death card, which showed a great change coming to him, likely inauspicious, and indeed, a huge change happened for Diddy when he was incarcerated. So what are the cards today? Will Diddy get bailed out? Today I pulled the Nine of Wands and the Blasted Tower. The Nine of Wands is associated with Sagittarius, a sign prominent in our chart, conveying rapid, unpredictable change, a persistent fighting spirit. Could relate to travel, optimism, potential freedom, and a situation improving. The Nine of Wands speaks of Diddy's long battle, feeling defensive, worn down, and exhausted from the ongoing legal turmoil. He's been fighting for his freedom and trying to maintain his position despite challenges. This card speaks of resilience in the face of adversity, expressing how he's not backing down and is determined to hold on to hope, even after having faced numerous setbacks and his legacy destroyed. The Blasted Tower card certainly describes the crisis of his situation, doesn't it? And his empire set aflame. It often signifies sudden and radical change, an event that shakes everything to the core, leading to unexpected disruption. In the context of his legal case, it suggests that the outcome or process might involve a shocking revelation or a dramatic shift that could upend his situation, perhaps involving an unforeseen twist in the legal proceedings that could drastically change the course of events or public's perception of the situation. Will a possible dramatic change be in his favor, or will he continue falling from his tower? The moon in these type of divination charts is said to be a strong indicator of the conclusion of our situation. The moon, which represents Diddy's money and the situation overall and its outcome, is in the 4th house. It's speaking of Diddy trying to be home in a more hospital situation and investing his money to do so, such as a $50 million bail package. And Virgo suggests Diddy's influence over the outcome. I put a lot of information in this reading because this is how I learned to decipher things better when the event comes to pass. We'll see how things end up, but in the end, even if he gets bailed out, I don't see things going well for the long term. Freedom is represented by Jupiter retrograde for Diddy, which is inauspicious. I feel that any freedom granted may be reversed or squandered. Perhaps he is just delaying the inevitable. That said, I didn't believe my chart that said Jussie Smollett would be excused and his conviction overturned, even though it did. And it's hard to believe that Diddy might actually be bailed out, but it's looking possible here. Thanks for watching. Until the next one.